Good speech. I call the Honourable Ruth Dyson.
At that momentary interruption, I had to pick up my pen that I dropped in stunned surprise, actually, the contribution from that member. I'm unable to recall his name. He's a new member, and perhaps that's why he gave such a confused, rambling speech. But I intend to put the facts on the record so that that member won't come into this House and make things up and talk about voting against a bill which earlier on this very day his minister committed to introducing.
That's right.
And he calls other parties confused. That member will be voting for this legislation when it's in the name of the National Party.
Right.
That will be the only difference. He calls Labor financially irresponsible. This legislation would have cost $6 million for the 3 target groups that Sue Moroney narrowed this bill down to in an effort to get some compromise and support for the most vulnerable families so that they could have the additional support they needed. When Sue Moroney offered that compromise to the National Party, costing $6 million, a quarter of what the National Party is spending on referendums about flags, that member and his party said no, and tonight his name will be on the record voting against extending paid parental leave to families of premature babies, to families who have multiple births, and to families who have disabled children or children with specific health needs. There are not many other families who are more deserving of additional support than those, but if there had been, the member could have added them at the committee stage of this bill, but instead he is voting against those families. That's one of the best things, Mr Speaker, about our Parliament, because the name of every member of Parliament is on the public record alongside how they voted. The member who split his call with the member who's just resumed his seat gave his second speech that he's given in Parliament. First one was his maiden speech. That was his second contribution, and I want to congratulate him on the birth of his baby, and I know that it is a delight to him. I've seen him out and about in Christchurch showing off, and well deserved too. He talked, tragically, a load of nonsense as well. Beautiful baby, terrible speech. He said, if we don't have the money, it's all just talk. Well, what about in 2002? In 2002, the Labor-led government's surplus, I know this is a strange word for the National Party to hear, but we did it every year, budget surplus, was $2.5 billion. Mr Bishop should remember that. $2.5 billion. He wrote the speeches for the National Party front bench to come in and say, you've got a surplus, why don't you give tax cuts? And we said, because there are better priorities, higher priorities. So we introduced paid parental leave in 2002 with a $2.5 billion surplus, and what did the National Party do? What did the National Party do? This party that comes in here making stuff up about we've always supported paid parental leave, we've always supported families and babies. Every single member of the National Party voted against the introduction of paid parental leave in New Zealand. We were finally taking a step towards getting up to speed with the rest of the world that we like to compare ourselves to. Every other country that we like to compare ourselves to has got paid parental leave. 2002, $2.5 billion budget surplus, National voted against it. 2004, the Labor-led government extended paid parental leave, and that year we had a $5.6 billion surplus. Eat your heart out, Bill English. $5.6 billion surplus. And what did National do then? Oh, we don't have the money. They had the money for tax cuts, but they couldn't afford, they said, couldn't afford to extend paid parental leave. And exactly the same thing happened in 2006. We became, in 2006, the first country in the world to have a form of paid parental leave for self-employed, and that's a very good thing because we have a lot of self-employed people in New Zealand. We broke new ground. And what did National do that? Similar size budget surplus. Listen to those words, you won't hear them much while there's a National-led government. Similar size budget surplus, and National voted against it. So Mr Ducey and Mr Muller, don't come into this house making stuff up, because the budget surplus and the voting record of your party are on the public record. And what you said about if only we could afford it, it's all just talk, you've got to walk the walk, is absolute nonsense. Mr Bishop knows it because he wrote those rubbish speeches that Bill English and his colleagues set up. Mr Speaker, I want to congratulate Sue Moroney for her attempt to get paid parental leave extended. I think New Zealand families would have welcomed this, and in fact I can say that with a lot of confidence because I chaired the select committee that considered this bill, and there were over 3,000 submissions to the bill, and 99.6% of the submissions, over 3,000 submissions, 99.6% of the submissions on this legislation totally supported it. About 0.5 said, well, there are some good things and some bad things about it. You know, there are some perhaps tinkering measures that should take place before we'd be 100% supportive of it. One single submitter out of over 3,000 opposed it. And that was a tragic submission, actually, Mr Speaker. It was tragic. The young man who presented the submission clearly had been obliged to on behalf of his employer. He clearly didn't want to. And the National Party, I'm sure, strongly encouraged him. They could only find one person in the whole country. And he said one of the difficulties with giving women paid parental leave was that generally after having a baby and taking time off, they forgot what their job was, and they had to be like completely retrained. So this total amnesia, I'm sure Mr Ducey will know about it. I'm not sure if his wife would share that view. I doubt if she would. She looks pretty on top of things to me, actually, and she's recently had a baby. But this submitter said that women had a child and they shouldn't have time off work because when they went back they would have completely forgotten it. He also forgot that, of course, at the moment we have an entire year entitlement in the law to unpaid parental leave. So this is just actually filling that gap of absence from the job with some money to support the family. And for a lot of families, of course, it makes the difference between them being able to choose genuinely to stay at home with their newborn baby, have the attachment that Mr Ducey has clearly had experience with, and which everyone in this House will know is so important. Listen to the health experts and the family support experts who say that breastfeeding, if possible, for the entire time of 6 months is best for the development of the baby. And of course, the stress and pressure of having to work a job part-time or full-time as well as having a new baby is big. So the more genuine choices we're able to offer families by giving them the financial support that can make that choice a reality, the better it is for New Zealand families. So I'm just stunned, not only that the National Party fought so pathetically against this bill by filibustering on a members' bill for hours and hours and hours, when it had been watered down, if you like, or tailored, a compromise on a plate that National could have accepted to a meagre $6 million a year, so that those who might be considered the most vulnerable of families, the most in need of that additional support because of the pressures they were facing, could be the ones that got the first additional assistance. But this is less money than it's costing the government, taxpayers, to move the Treaty of Waitangi one block from Archives New Zealand to the National Library. That's costing $6.7 million, a very good spend, I'm sure. It's a whole block that it's moving, $6.7 million. this implementation of paid parental leave to this targeted group would have cost $6 million. As I said, it's a quarter of the amount of money that the national government is going to spend on referendums for a flag. Mr O'Connor, you should take a call and explain to your constituents and the country why your name is going against extending paid parental leave. Sue Moroney did her best to introduce the debate.
Sorry to interrupt the member, but her time has expired.